and it's effortless, and it doesn't take much energy. It's like there's no resistance. It's just fully embodying the purpose and the work, and that to me is peak performance, and just trusting with the results. I don't measure the peak performance. I don't know how to measure it. To me, it's a state of embodiment.
Welcome to Inspiration Contagion, where we spread inspiration one story at a time. I am your host, Holly Jean Jackson. Each interview spotlights transformational business leaders, their stories, challenges, and advice for how you too can lead yourself and others through inspiration. Learn how you too can achieve peak performance, build more revenue, and lead the legacy you were meant to lead. Welcome back to Inspiration Contagion. This is episode 111, and I love that number. I have a very special guest with me this week. His name is Bradford W. Tilden, and he is a best-selling author, composer, master sound healer, and universal white time healing teacher. He helps people to find meaning and purpose through inspiration, education, and activation toward true spiritual awakening and authentic divine expression. With that, welcome, Bradford.
Thank you so much, Holly.
Yeah, it's so great to have you here. I wanted to kick off our conversation by asking you, what makes you an inspirational leader, or what would you say is your secret sauce?
My secret sauce is authenticity. I follow my heart, I follow my joy, and I don't really care what other people think about me, because I just know I'm coming from a place of love and gratitude, and just being that and holding that vibration is enough to give people permission to be that themselves.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious for folks who are listening to this and they're like, gosh, that would be just such a breath of fresh air. How in the work that you're doing, have you found that just your presence or the work you're doing with them allows them to step into their own personal power?
What's interesting is I first started realizing I had this ability outside of work. It was with a roommate who one day came to me and presented an oil painting. And he said, "Brad, you inspired me to get back into painting. And I want to gift you this painting as a thank you for that." And that was one of many examples. And I think it's because I was just, again, following my dreams. And so when I'm working in session with people, I focus on what gives them passion, what gives them what's their drive, what's their why, right? But even more than the why, what is it that wants to come out of them? What do they want to create? What do they want to express? And oftentimes they can use that creative channel to have transformation and catharsis and release trauma so that they can truly step into their power.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. We certainly, especially with the timing of things happening in the world today, could use more people stepping into and standing in their purpose and releasing trauma. But that's a whole different conversation for a whole different day. I wanted to ask you, especially given the work that you're doing, what does inspiration mean to you?
Inspiration means just a limitless expression, in a sense. Like, I get inspired to do something and I follow through with it. Inspiration can come from the higher self. It can come from an insight, guidance. Inspiration can come from another work of art, a novel, a piece of music. And I know I was always inspired by pieces of music I was studying, and I would create pieces that were inspired by that. And it's just a way to add nuance to the expression of the world into life. And I read somewhere that a creative act is the gift of gratitude to God. When you're creating, you're gifting back for receiving life and consciousness on this planet.
I love that. Yeah, creativity and leaning into what you're gifted at is definitely a gift to God and a gift of gratitude, and certainly a gift to the rest of humanity. So, for those listening, if you have been letting your creativity fall to the wayside, we need your creative genius because it is what makes the world go round.
Mhm.
We're going to shift gears just a little bit, Bradford, and we're going to talk about peak performance. I'm really curious, how do you define peak performance and how have you arrived at this definition?
I will say it's often elusive, just to be honest. Uh, to me, peak performance, I refer to as being in the flow or being full on in the flow. And it becomes like a ballet dance or a choreography where like every moment living in the present is just taking care of something, completing a task or receiving an insight or, oh, it's time to email this person, or it's time to text this person, it's time to call this person. It's like stepping into the intuition and allowing intuition to be the vehicle with which I can flow through this river of inspiration and guidance, and it's effortless, and it doesn't take much energy. It's like there's no resistance. It's just fully embodying the purpose and the work, and that to me is peak performance, and just trusting with the results. I don't measure the peak performance. I don't know how to measure it. To me, it's a state of embodiment.
I love that answer. I like also how that was very visual in terms of the ballet dance and the
Mhm.
river and feeling that river of inspiration and guidance and feeling that flow. And it feels very much an essence and energy and a state of being, and a very unique way to answer that question. I can imagine our listeners wanting to just float on that river of intuition and ease and finding their flow in particular. Now, I'm sure that along your personal journey in business and in life, it hasn't been perfect. What have been some of the challenges or obstacles that you faced along finding that flow in peak performance?
I'm going to keep it light. I have suffered, well, I wouldn't say suffer. I have gone through a lot of tremendous traumas in my life and been resilient, I guess is the hot topic word these days. Uh, and the most challenging one was actually a crisis of faith. I wouldn't say they're unique viewpoints about spirituality and life and out, beyond Earth and everything, but they're uh, not something for conversation on a bus with a stranger necessarily. And a lot of that is tied to my healing work because it comes from a very high source. And I was hospitalized, and I don't want to go into it, but it came out of that trauma, questioning my own reality, and being questioned for who I believed I was because of the circumstances, and it compelled me into a real dark night of the soul where I had to really to seek and to qualify and to dig really deep within me to find the truth about who I am and what I believe to be real, and how that it can be validated externally, which is difficult because I don't like to tell people to find external validation, but for some reason I needed it, and I luckily I actually found it recently in Peru of all places, where it got me back on track in a very deep spot. My inner child was very traumatized and fearful, as opposed to the joyful, innocent inner child before this trauma. So it was a lot of inner work that I had to do to recover my foundation of my beliefs, which is something that I wouldn't want to ask upon anyone, but it was certainly a really wonderful experience after I got through it, because now I believe my faith is unshakable in my alignment with with my work and the power that it possesses to transform lives. So,
That's amazing. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. It's interesting that you bring up inner child work and trauma because recently I actually worked with one of my coaches and guides on also some inner child work that was related to health stuff, not trauma stuff, but health things. And it's amazing how that inner child work, when done correctly, or that parts work, when done correctly, can really unblock things that you didn't realize were blocked, or
mhm.
open up new energy portals or new avenues of thinking that weren't accessible previously. And it's something we've talked about on the show in the past, that how we show up is in one area affects every part of our life. And there's so much that's below the iceberg or the glacier of who we are consciously, that, we have these patterns that repeat themselves. And it's oftentimes things that are completely subconscious. So I'm grateful you were able to get some freedom around that and work with that inner child to have that faith and that firm foundation. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in the work that you're doing, I am really curious how you hold space or create a culture or a container of peak performance in your company or in the communities that you built.
I do hold, I teach a lot. So I initiate and certify people in the modalities that I teach. And in that, there is a very strong sense of integrity and also a level of quality of, of performance. And, there's a specific curriculum that we adhere to that is sort of passed on. And once the person receives that, then they can integrate that into their own life and develop and grow in their own direction. I do have gatherings where I invite all my practitioners to come and to share and to collaborate. And so there's always a sense of accessibility with me and my students. I don't separate myself. I don't see myself as better than. I invite them as equals, as peers, and that is very important in terms of the culture of growing the modality. So creating a community has been very important for me. And I think that helps with the peak performance. So the peak performance helps because then, I gotta contact all those people. It's really about strong communications, I think, is the key to growing the community, which in turn grows my business. But also, most importantly, it spreads the vibrations and the frequencies that help to transform people again into higher states of
Beautiful.
consciousness.
I love that. And I'm really curious because I have a feeling a lot of our listeners haven't heard of white light therapy and the healing
Mhm.
modalities that you're using. So can you, in a way that's accessible to folks that are not familiar with that, share a bit of your genius and what you do in that space?
Sure. The Everything is about, you can consider levels of energy, right? There's dimensions, there's densities. Those thermometers that are oil and they've got those little floaty things that will float at a certain type, right? So there are certain modalities come in at certain frequencies, and Reiki is one that most people have probably heard of. Reiki reaches up to a certain frequency and a certain bandwidth that a Reiki practitioner can channel higher energies and use them to heal. So white time healing comes, if this is Reiki, white time healing is like way, way, way up there, because it comes from the source is actually outside of this universe. If you can wrap your head around that, it comes into this universe and down on all of us and through the practitioner. And because of its unique origin, it doesn't have a limitation of working in linear time. It can work in the past and the future and the present all as one. And the knowledge that comes with it is really translated through working with gemstones. Every crystal and gemstone has a different frequency, and our bodies are comprised of multiple frequencies, from the frequency of our third eye, our throat chakra, our heart chakra, our physical eye, our physical pineal gland, our eyes. Everything has a frequency, and the gemstones frequencies interact. And the knowledge is how to combine them to interact to create the desired result, which is often balance, peace, harmony, healing, and awakening. So that's really the basis of the work. It's vibrational, coming from a very high source and utilizing stones and natural, like stones, plants, herbs, any of that stuff to bring about health and wellness and wholeness.
Yeah, and as somebody who's experienced Bradford's amazing magic in person in real time, he is incredible. So if you're listening and you're wanting, like you just expressed, that harmony, that balance, working on some things that are, subconscious that you can't access, that aren't explainable by normal quote unquote normal conditions here, I highly recommend doing a session with him and chatting with him around finding some healing for yourself. He's incredible. We're going to pivot a little bit. We're going to talk about revenue.
Okay.
Bradford, when have you left money on the table in your business, and what did you do to fix it?
Well, my struggles with sales. Let's be honest here. Upselling, and upselling things is where I leave money on the table, and also follow through. When people come to my events, I don't have a system in place to follow up immediately and say, hey, if you like this, you like that. So that I know that those are the places that are lacking in my business, and a lot of it is ungroundedness, unfocusedness, or the fact that I'm busy creating and not really, these aspects of the business are things that the healer and the musician and the creative doesn't really like to focus on. And I'm looking for that secret, that alchemical mystery, the secret of turning these tasks into creative, and exciting endeavors that can keep my interest engaged, as opposed to being, how I, unfortunately view it as like, mundane teeth pulling tasks that need to be accomplished. But those are just strong words. It's all good. It's all in the flow. But I do know I leave money on the table, and
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
I think we all do. Well, you
We
probably
all
don't.
do.
You run a tight ship, Holly.
We, in one way or another, we all do. Even I do. None of us are perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say one thing I would challenge you to do, because I like how you said, how do we make that piece that I don't love something that I do love and creative and fun? So for my creative clients that aren't ready to invest, or they want like an extra challenge outside of the consulting work we do together, I like to charge them or challenge them with, could you make the follow-up process fun, where you create a jingle or something to follow up with, or just make the process fun and make it your own in such a way that it is inspirational, it is fun, it does lend to the skills that you're gifted with. And then the other thing too is just reframing marketing and sales. It's really about meeting that person where they are to help heal them. It's not about money. It's about energetic exchange. And since you're an energy expert, the sales conversation is simply offering a portal or a door for that person that needs your healing key or access to help them get to the next level, to step through that. And in order to do that, because they don't have the solution, they're energetically exchanging that money to access the things in the blind spots that they don't have access to get through that door. So in case that helps you as a small reframe with the sales conversation and
Does. Thank
upselling.
you. I
Yeah.
felt that come right in here.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Amazing. Excited to see what that opens up for you. This has been a great conversation. We're gonna wrap up with 2 quick rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And by the way, for folks who want to access and contact Bradford, I have all of his links for Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, his website, LinkedIn, all the things. And that will be in the show notes as well as the YouTube notes, so you can reach out to him directly. But with that, Bradford, what is the best piece of advice you would share with others today?
Be yourself and give yourself permission to do the things that you love.
Beautiful. And what's the legacy you wish to leave behind?
My piano music. I would like people playing my piano music 200 years from now.
Aww. His
I want to
music
be
is
famous.
beautiful. I have one of his CDs. We're old school like that, y'all. Amazing. Beautiful. So fun. I actually just hired a piano teacher because I'm going to start playing jazz piano again,
Oh.
trying to. I'm classically trained, y'all, but I'm starting to go after my bucket list of playing in a jazz trio in the future. So putting that out there to the public right now.
Nice.
Oh. All right, Bradford, thank you so much. This has been such a great interview. Again, if you guys are looking for healing, harmony, balance, finding those subconscious blind spots, be sure to reach out to Bradford. And to our listeners, I'll see you on our next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the show today. I hope you were inspired. More importantly, I hope you take action. If the show inspired you, I ask that you subscribe and share it with your network. Let's spread inspiration together today.